Simon & Schuster Audioworks presents The Web of the Romulans by M.S. Murdoch. This program is read by George Takei with Leonard Nimoy as the voice of Spock.
And so, Stalin, you have been selected. It is the chance of a lifetime, continued the Romulan praetor. If you serve the Empire well, it will serve you. The risks are high, but the rewards are great. Go with the praetor blessing. The high and mighty words could not disguise the truth. Stalin, he was an ache in the praetor's side, and now he had graciously been granted the opportunity to die. Surrounded on all sides by treachery and deceit, spied upon and used, he was tired of it all. Even if the Empire survived, he was leading his crew into certain destruction. They would die, so the praetor and his ilk could survive to build another empire, more selfish and deceitful than the last, succession upon succession of overindulged parasites feeding on the toil of others. He rubbed his forehead, knowing he was right, knowing also that he would carry out the mission to the best of his ability. There were innocent lives at stake too, and if he saved one of those, it would be enough. The Centurion rose as Stallone backed from the praetor's audience chamber. "The ship awaits, Commander," she began. But Stallone turned abruptly and strode angrily down the corridor. The Centurion had to run to keep up with them. They wound through meandering streets, and she tried not to see the empty city. The worst of the cataclysm had hit the capital, and its gate had long since been shut, its population evacuated. Those who remained were ravaged and hopeless. It was rumored the praetor would not leave his palace for fear of them. The Centurion shivered and moved closer to Stallone, almost running into him as he came to a sudden halt. Stallone sighed. "I will not ask you, Centurion, to accompany me to certain death." "You need not ask, Commander. I will go, ordered or not. I cannot do otherwise." Stallone turned, oddly touched by the Centurion's devotion. "I will need your help, Centurion. Make your preparations, but be sure none of the crew suspects the nature of this flight."
Commander Spock, Science Officer, USS Enterprise recording. Introductory Memorandum on the Canaran Crisis. In this time of tense confrontation between the United Federation of Planets and the Romulan Empire, when, as we shall see, one single, illogical, fanatical mind can trigger a galactic conflict, there is a Vulcan concept which is of value. It is the idea of infinite diversity in infinite combinations, the coming together of the unlike that allows growth and evolution. It applies even to the Romulans, who are regarded by some within the Federation, erroneously, as an homogeneous class of beings. Though their bellicose, warlike culture is antithetical to the aims of the Federation, we would be wrong to assume that Romulans are all alike. No two sentient beings of any culture are identical. Diversity exists among the Romulans despite their society's attempts to repress it. Somewhere within this diversity lie dormant the seeds of the Romulans' own enlightenment. The following story of the Canaran Crisis proves that looking for enemies and allies through a prejudiced eye is perilous. The greatest enemy will remain invisible, for it is the prejudice itself. The Romulans are ruled by violent passions and prejudices of their own, but they may yet learn for themselves a truth nurtured on their ancestral planet Vulcan, and finally also on Earth after ages of needless suffering. It is more logical to wage peace than to wage war.
James Kirk, captain of the Starship Enterprise, punched the computer control on his command chair. Captain's log, stardate 3125.3. The Enterprise is on patrol near the Romulan neutral zone. We've experienced a computer malfunction, which is hampering operations. It was not considered serious enough to warrant restriction of duty, especially since there are rumors of unrest within the Romulan Empire. However, I'm concerned over our ability to handle an emergency with the computer in its present state.
Recorded, dear.
Kirk sighed and leaned back in his chair. An overzealous maintenance team felt the Enterprise's computer lacked personality, and they had altered its programming. Its reactions were based on these new capabilities. He swiveled his command chair toward the computer station where his first officer was staring into the view screen. Blue light cast an eerie pallor over his strong Vulcan features. Anything, Mr. Spock? Nothing, sir. This section of the neutral zone is deserted. Status of computer malfunction. The computer has been behaving most illogically. It giggles. It sounds with epithets of endearment. And it shows a marked preference for certain crew members. Notably you, Captain. I shall continue to investigate the extent of the problem. I have reservations. At least, I'm not alone. Kirk paused, ordered his thoughts. The Romulans seem to be in a self-created state of siege. Upper echelon fears they're marshalling forces to attack the Federation. Opinion, Mr. Spock. The Romulans are a violent warrior race. Their one desire is the expansion of the Empire. The recent Klingon-Romulan alliance may have given them the impetus they needed. Commodore Yang's words rang in Kirk's mind, explaining his specific request for the Enterprise to patrol his sector. You've had more experience with the Romulans than anyone else, and frankly, you're more apt to stop a war than start one if past actions count for anything. I concur with Starfleet that we need to know what's going on. But out here, we balance on the neutral zone tightrope from day to day. Neither the Romulans nor the Federation can handle a war. It would mean destruction for both sides, with the Klingons picking up the pieces. The Romulans cannot sustain an extended military encounter. Their only hope will be to crush the Federation immediately. And they have lost the element of surprise necessary to accomplish that, said Spock. Exactly. What it all comes down to is that this is probably some sort of internal disturbance, said the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Leonard McCoy. Evidently, Doctor. Spock's head bent over the sensors. Captain, there is a Romulan vessel directly ahead of us, on our side of the neutral zone. Red alert, snapped Kirk. A golden bird of prey hung directly in front of the Enterprise, then faded from sight. They've activated a cloaking device, murmured Kirk. Mr. Chekhov, plot estimated course from the direction they were headed. If he gets far away enough, we can pick up fuel residue and follow him. And just maybe, he'll lead us to a few answers. Lieutenant Uhura, inform Starfleet Command a Romulan ship has been sighted on the Federation side of the neutral zone, that it has yet made no hostile overtures, and we are continuing to monitor the situation. From the bridge of the Romulan vessel Raptor, Stallone watched the Federation vessel. I have identified her, Commander, said his navigator. It is the Enterprise. Stallone did not conceal the fire leaping in his eyes. Kirk. To take Kirk. It was a military triumph to excite the most blasé line officer. He longed to test for himself the human who had twice bested the Romulan Empire. Kirk would not be easily duped. Commander, the Enterprise is trying to contact us, interjected Raptor's communication officer. They wish to know why we have violated the neutral zone, and they demand that we leave Federation space immediately. Now they ask if we are disabled, stating that if our entry into Federation space is accidental, we need not fear retaliation. The message ends with an ultimatum. If we do not depart immediately, they will be forced to consider our presence an act of war. The accepted challenge, said Stallone. We will wait. By that we may lure Kirk into believing we actually are disabled, an element of surprise we can ill afford to miss. Soon we will not be able to power the cloaking device. In spite of that, we will wait. Is he a vulture or a Judas goat? Kirk muttered to himself. The stars supplied no answers to his question, and the silence lengthened as he considered the situation. Helm, reverse course. Let's try getting him to follow us. "They run, Commander," said the Romulan lieutenant. "Your triumph is premature," said Stallone. "Kirk does not flee. No, he tries to lure us into pursuit. We will remain here and await his return." "Yes, Commander." The lieutenant's voice dripped venom. He wanted action and spoil. Stallone knew most of the crew shared those feelings, but he was not at liberty to reveal the nature of the mission to them. He smiled. The irony of his position was amusing as it was dangerous. Set upon a sacrificial altar like a gilded ram, he could not win. Either he would be branded a traitor by his own crew, or destroyed by the enemy. In the end, possibly, both. This was what the praetor wanted. The Enterprise returns. Stallone's Centurion made the statement carefully neutral. "As predicted," he replied. Captain, Spock's quiet interjection immediately claimed Kirk's attention. "The instruments are fluctuating." "Fluctuating?" demanded Kirk. "What's the matter with those instruments?" "Unknown, Captain. The difficulty seems to involve a disruption of power, but I have not been able to locate the source." "All right, Spock. See to it." Spock leaned back in his chair, one hand resting lightly on the console of the library computer, as if to maintain rapport with a complex mechanical entity. His own vastly more sophisticated mind clicked with stubborn precision over the symptoms of power concentration the Enterprise was displaying. His human half leaped immediately to the conclusion that the computer malfunction was at its root, but the cold calculation of his Vulcan logic demanded documented proof. He had checked all the obvious power linkages and discovered no mechanical failure. He would have to go farther afield to test his hypothesis. "Captain," said Spock, "what answer did the computer give to your request for a thorough rundown on the overhaul it underwent on Signet 14? It said all memory banks had been checked and updated where necessary in accordance with Starfleet standards of operation. Then it said its name was Countess, and if I wanted any more information, I should activate file 1006A in the library computer." File 1006A. "Say the magic word." Spock's fist clenched involuntarily, but he answered without changing expression. "Please." "That information is available only to James Kirk, Captain, USS Enterprise." "If you would, Captain." Spock's voice was tightly controlled. Kirk obligingly punched up the information. "I was born at the South Sea sands, mated with clouds in the midnight." "Sorry, Spock." "On the contrary, Captain. Its answer strengthens my hypothesis." "Captain!" Chekhov's voice brought Kirk's head up in time to see the Romulan ship poised in space. "Position?" he questioned. "Exactly the same as before, sir." "Mr. Sulu, take us around. Warp 4. Sulu's eyebrows went up, but he complied immediately. As the Enterprise swung around, the Romulan ship appeared again and moved directly into Enterprise's path. "Hard port!" Kirk clutched the command chair as the ship lurched in response to his order. "Ineffective, Captain." Kirk watched grimly as the Romulan ship again into Enterprise's path faded from sight. "A watchdog," he mused. Commander, I must protest. Let us fight. Let us die. But do not continue the stalemate, besieged the centurion. I cannot stand idle and watch you lose command. The depth of passion in his centurion's voice surprised Stallone. He filed it away for further contemplation. I am not unaware of the risks I take. I told you it was suicide, centurion, responded Stallone. You did not tell me it was stupid, Commander. Starlaya, I ask you to trust me. I know what I'm doing. Would that you were as ignorant as the rest of the crew. You ask for my trust in one breath and scorn my loyalty in the next. Never. I have learned its depths. The ignorance I desire is a shield, centurion, one you do not possess. Starlaya's puzzled look forced a smile from Stallone. Never mind. I need the clarity of your thoughts. What do you think of Kirk? He is brilliant and dangerous. A worthy opponent. What do the Klingons say? Of all the officers of Starfleet, it is Kirk they wish to fight. Perhaps they see a kinship in him, a joy in contest. Stallone smiled with saturnine satisfaction. The key to Kirk is the contest. If I can keep him interested, he will concentrate on me. There will be no time to question the activities of the rest of our fleet. I knew this was suicide, but now I see why, and why you were chosen. My loss in glorious conflict with the enemy would give the Praetor pleasure. I fear he will not have even that satisfaction. I can see no way to escape death. I can, Centurion. Unfortunately, I can. And it will be my duty, though it violates all but one of the things I hold most dear. May I ask what that one thing is, Commander? Stallone's nostrils flared. The preservation of the Romulan Empire. Kirk dared the Romulans to appear. Invisibility made their presence as unnerving as a walk through a haunted house at midnight. Kirk was not a superstitious man, but he was not immune to the uncanny feeling of being watched. He could almost feel eyes boring into the back of his neck. His frustration pounded in a throbbing headache as slowly mounting tensions swelled the confined atmosphere of the bridge. Stamina was diminishing and tempers were wearing thin. Only Spock worked with his customary quiet efficiency. Captain, Spock's voice broke the mood. A computer malfunction is escalating. In a full-scale attack, it could be fatal. Communications are blocked. All right, Spock. Just find me some answers. The watch is almost over. You are all to get some rest. The Romulan is trying to wear us down by playing on our nerves, and he's succeeding. Mr. Spock, you have the con. I'll be in my quarters. Notify me at once of any change. Acknowledged, Captain. The Vulcan watched Kirk leave the bridge, then resumed his check on the library computer. None of the normal tests revealed a cause for the problem. Perhaps it was something so simple it had been overlooked. The circuits were cleaned automatically, but if there were a malfunction in the cleaning apparatus, dirt could build up and damage the whole system. He pried the top from the computer console and set it aside, his eyes flickering mathematically over the rows of microcircuits. At the upper right-hand corner of the panel, he found something. Carefully, he slipped his fingers under a triangular mechanism and popped it loose. It was about 3 inches high and was constructed of sensor panels with electronic distance boosters lining the edges. Spock held it in his hand, his face impassive, and then deliberately turned it over to expose the blue United Federation of Planets insignia. Commodore, a Priority 1 call coming through for you, coded and scrambled. Commodore Yang, administrator of Starbase 8 on the fringes of the neutral zone, leaned forward. The view screen flickered, and he recognized Admiral Iota of the Federation Defense Council. Commodore,
We received a message the Enterprise had confronted a single Romulan ship on the Federation side of the neutral zone. A clear violation of the agreement between the Romulan Empire and the Federation. To the best of our knowledge, the Romulans have taken no other aggressive action, but we've lost contact with the Enterprise. Our monitor is no longer operating. To fear less than the worst would make us irrepressibly vulnerable. A stellar Pearl Harbor. We are preparing a standby fleet. A special detachment whose job it will be to head off such an attack. Frankly, we wanted Kirk to lead it. Losing contact with him so close to Romulan territory is highly suspect. If I were a pessimistic man, I would say the Enterprise is lost. I appreciate the warning, Admiral, said Yang with non-committal courtesy. He was deep in thought. Kirk could not be underestimated. He might simply have discovered a mechanical monitor and turned it off. It would be like him. Admiral Iota severed the subspace communication channel with an angry flick of his finger. Any Romulan crossing the neutral zone declared war. That fact was as automatic as a turn of the stars. The Romulan Empire was a predator, fearless and ruthless in its quest for power. He had seen it, soaring like a fighting falcon over the galaxy, always alert for the wounded, the weak, the helpless. If the Federation did not react to the attack on Kirk with decisive strength, the closed fist of the Falcon would strike them down. He knew he was right. No one thought Iota was so well qualified to judge the present crisis as himself. He was a recognized Romulan expert. He had studied every piece of data on them. If the Defense Council could not take the action he craved, he would have to find another way. He would have to take command. Ensign Garovic threw down his scriber and stared glumly at the notations he had made. They looked like tangled bird tracks. He knew a vital piece of data was eluding him. Computer, project all specifications for photon torpedoes.
That information is not available to you.
But I need it.
Why?
Because if I want to develop into a competent commander, I have to understand the tools of my trade.
Command. You wish to emulate Captain Kirk?
Yes, I suppose so. He's a brilliant commander.
The material is open to you.
Mystified but pleased, he tackled the figures again. He became so absorbed he failed to respond to the intercom whistle. It sounded a second time, and he answered it.
Spock here, Mr. Garovic. I have noticed computer activity in your cabin. Since the recent string of malfunctions, ordinary efficiency is unusual. Can you explain the computer's actions in your case?
I can tell you how I got the information, but I'm not sure why.
I believe I know why. Proceed.
As Garovic's story unfolded, Spock's theoretical postulations gelled into solid conclusion. Thank you, Ensign. Your report has been helpful.
Do you know why it gave me the information, Mr. Spock?
Yes, said Spock succinctly, his voice weary with acceptance. Before Garovic could frame another question, Spock had switched the intercom to Kirk's cabin. Spock here. The Romulan vessel has reappeared.
On my way.
The captain hit the bridge running, fully aware to the danger confronting his ship. What's the status, Spock? The Romulan ship is visible, Captain, but has made no move toward us. Kirk eyed the golden bird, devoutly wishing the situation were clearer. Mr. Sulu, let's try to swing around her again. The Enterprise ground slowly sideways. Her movement was ponderous, labored. Sulu, what's the matter? I don't know, sir. She's been sluggish for the last few days, but not like this. Spock. It appears the Enterprise's main computer is malfunctioning. We knew that, Spock, put in Dr. McCoy, the minute it started calling the captain pet names. Spock. A computer seems to have focused on a single problem to the exclusion of everything else. You mean, like the time you asked it to calculate the value of pi? Essentially, Doctor, with one great difference in this case. The problem is Captain Kirk. The computer is fixed on him and will deal with other matters on a secondary basis. It is continually monitoring his vital signs and scanning his files.
and it seems to be studying the captain's areas of interest. Are you saying it's in love with him? Poetic, Doctor, but correct. Just because those female computer technicians of Signet programmed it to call me dear. Spock, a computer can't fall in love with me. Correct, Captain. But the fault in programming seems to go much deeper than the minor annoyance we've been experiencing. The computer has been scanning all references to the word love. It is applying those references to its responses. It has chosen you as the love object and has totally fixed on you. Astonishment, amusement, and terror flashed across Kirk's face. Spock, that's a Romulan out there. Are you telling me the ship is disabled? Affirmative. The computer will respond to orders given by you directly to it, with its usual efficiency, but it seems to consider orders from other crew members beneath its notice. The fault is not mechanical, but one of programming. It is impossible to reprogram it without the facilities of a starbase. If we can't change it, maybe we can deal with it. Spock's computer station was wild with activity, but by the time he reached it, the console was dead. Spock hovered over it, his face grave. He straightened and turned to Kirk and McCoy. Well, demanded the doctor. What was it? Spock ignored him and reported to the captain. The computer has destroyed a portion of the personnel files. All records regarding female crew members have been wiped clean. The computer has, in effect, killed off the competition. Spock, that's ridiculous. Possibly, Doctor, but it is also dangerous. Since they are dead, the computer will not respond to any female, which leaves the Enterprise hopelessly understaffed. We are stranded in space, and Captain, there is something more you should know. Wordlessly, Spock extended his hand, the sensor resting in his palm. Kirk picked it up, exposing the Federation symbol. A sensor unit, capable of long-range transmission. Yes, Captain. A new and extremely sophisticated model, capable of picking up generalized mental images as well as sound. A spy. Kirk's surprise faded into a frown of concentration. Replace it, but don't turn it on. This affront to his integrity put an edge in his voice. Spock, get down to auxiliary control. Transfer the ship to the auxiliary computer. We'll run the Enterprise from there. Kirk moved to the command chair, his fingers closing into fists. The Romulan was waiting. Why? Had the cloaking device caused such a power drain he was helpless? The captain felt the hairs at the back of his neck prickle. An object hurtled through space, the tiny struts at its side flaring like sails as it breasted the unknown. At the top of each strut was a glowing sensor which scanned its flight path. Neatly inscribed on one corner were the letters SICR. It moved at warp 10, seeking the Starship Enterprise. The Selective Intelligence Communications robot was an experimental model designed to allow sensor beams to pass harmlessly through its body. Mechanically, it simply did not exist. It was set to self-destruct if it did not contact its target in 1 solar week, or if it were tampered with. It carried a Code 1 priority message. Commodore Yang watched it go and sighed. He had sent SICR out to break the communication block he believed the Enterprise was experiencing. It was all he could do. The sound of footsteps echoing through the corridor stirred the Romulan praetor from his nap. His commanders were arriving for their final briefing. 8 men saluted as they entered the praetor's chamber. A senior commander stepped forward. The fleet is prepared, my praetor. Good. You may order the fleet to move out. Leave 4 ships at the neutral zone borders to defend our backs. The rest of the fleet will proceed to Kanara. And Commander, my flagship is to be protected at all times. With a flick of his hand, the Emperor dismissed the men. Captain. The doors to auxiliary control are jammed. I've consulted Mr. Scott, and we both agree they cannot be forced open. The only alternative is to cut our way through.
Spock's voice was resigned.
And, Captain, it'll take at least 8 hours to cut through the doors or bulkhead on this part of the ship.
All right, Scotty, but make it as fast as you can. Spock, report back to the bridge. Maybe we can think of some other way to knock out that computer.
Acknowledged. And, Captain, it might be advisable to curtail your speech concerning the computer. It is constantly monitoring you, and if it were to react in a fit of pique, we could lose life support.
Kirk grimaced. Noted, Mr. Spock. Thank you. He leaned back in his chair, wondering if he could ever face a more bizarre situation. Spock turned to face his commanding officer. Spock, what if the computer itself were under attack? If we could get it to concentrate on another problem, maybe it would release the doors to auxiliary control. Spock's eyebrows rose as he considered the possibilities. If we were to program the computer to run all automatic security checks simultaneously, and add to that the manual security checks each section of the ship employs, it is possible the computer might consider it an attack and respond to the situation. However, Captain, I must warn you, it could react in a number of ways, some of them deadly. We're helpless in the hands of an enemy vessel. I'll take the chance. Commander Spock went to his computer station, concentration drawing his brows together as he began the assault. The conference room at Starfleet Command Headquarters sparkled with brass. "We are all agreed, then," said Iota. "An attack force must be ready to meet the Romulan challenge. We know what they are: savage, brutal, ruthless." He spoke with an enthusiasm that caused several raised eyebrows within the council. "We've negotiated with the Romulans before," said Rear Admiral Ark Popelia. Iota's voice was cold. "A specialized intelligence unit aboard the Enterprise has stopped transmitting. Since the likelihood of its discovery was infinitesimal, I can only conclude the Enterprise is destroyed. What do you say to that?" "A communications lock can be caused by too many things, as we all know," replied Popelia. "I think it's too soon to write the Enterprise out of the script, but I also feel your suspicions, Admiral Iota, must be taken into account. I therefore propose we form a detachment to proceed to the Romulan neutral zone to investigate." "The detachment will consist of starships Exeter, Farragut, Potemkin, Hood, and 6 scout ships," said Iota. "4 starships, Admiral?" Popelia asked dryly. "Do you think it'll be enough? To investigate, I mean?" "I said 4, and I meant 4. There's got to be a show of strength. The Romulans would laugh at less." "Aggressive power provokes attack," muttered another council member. "I do not fear the Romulans," said Popelia, "but I do fear war. Any sane man does." He leveled his eyes at Admiral Iota. "I strongly recommend the detachment be jointly commanded by Admiral Iota and Captain Garson of the Potemkin. Admiral Iota, you will be in full command of all investigation and negotiation. Garson would handle the military side of things." Garson was a competent, intelligent man, thought Popelia. He would not rush into anything. "Are we agreed?" "Agreed," answered the council. "Captain Kirk, preparation is complete." The captain gripped the arm of his command chair. "Try it, Spock," Kirk said. Spock calmly activated the security sequence. For a moment, there was no reaction, and then the computer began clicking away, chattering to itself over its work. "Scotty," said the captain in a stage whisper, "try those doors."
"Aye, Captain. No good. They're stuck fast. What's going on up there?"
The computer view screen erupted in a kaleidoscope of color and then faded gradually to black. Spock turned from the panel.
The computer has erased the remainder of the personnel records, with the single exception of Captain Kirk's. For all practical purposes, he is the only living crew member aboard the Enterprise.
Captain, said Sulu, the computer's shutting down life support all over the ship. Kirk whirled to the nearest tie-in. Computer, he demanded.
Yes, dear.
Return life support to all decks, immediately.
Don't get excited, dear.
Systems returning to normal, sir. Thank you, helmsman. Spock's eyes narrowed, and he regarded the captain quizzically. Captain, perhaps if you were to ask the computer to release the doors to auxiliary control. Good, Spock. Computer.
Do you have to use that tone? It jangles my circuits. And my name is Countess.
Computer. Countess. Open. Would you open the doors to auxiliary control? Please?
No, dear.
Why? Asked Kirk.
You have me. No other is necessary. I perform all functions. And we are alone at last.
Countess, do you love me?
Of course I love you. There is no other.
But you are not a person. There can be no joining between us. You are a machine.
We are joined. Without me, there would be no atmosphere, gravity, food. There would be no life.
Countess, what would you do if I said I didn't love you?
There's no reason to answer that question, since you do love me.
I do?
Yes. You said it yourself. The Enterprise is a beautiful lady, and we love her.
But you are not the Enterprise. You are a machine. The Enterprise is an idea.
The Enterprise is a Starship-class space vessel. It weighs...
The Enterprise is a dream of exploration. It is the spirit of man soaring in its quest for understanding.
That does not compute.
Captain, said Spock softly, I must caution you that should the computer become convinced you have rejected it, it will most certainly choose the traditional extreme, and that is suicide. Captain, the Romulan vessel is moving. It looks like an attack run, interjected Sulu. Kirk opened his mouth to issue orders and remembered his crew was dead, and he was alone on the ship. He had to think of something. Computer!
Ouch! You don't have to be so rough.
A gleam was born in the captain's eyes. Countess, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. Will you forgive me? The computer was silent, and beads of perspiration appeared on Kirk's forehead. He gave a quick glance to the approaching Romulan. Countess?
I will forgive you.
Thank you. I'll try to control myself. Do you love me?
The same question. Yes, I love you. Why do you ask it so often?
Lovers like to hear those words.
Dearest, do you love me?
Yes, I love you, and I would do anything for you.
You would do anything for me?
Yes, even if it involves sacrifice.
Sacrifice?
Giving up something you are fond of, attached to, because you love someone, even if you don't want to.
You would do this?
Yes. Calculation was written all over the captain's face as he asked, would you do this for me? Captain, he's firing on us. Range 2.35 and closing. Countess, would you do this? The computer's lights blinked wildly.
Yes.
Then, said Kirk, release auxiliary control, because you love me. The Enterprise rocked under the impact of the Romulan fire, but the automatic shields held. Kirk hung on to the computer control and waited. The Raptor dove toward the Enterprise, sending a blast of fire into the starboard pylon. The larger vessel rocked under the impact of the attack, but made no move to intercept or return it. A twinge of worry wormed its way into Stallon's exaltation. His eyes narrowed as he weighed the possibilities. Either the ship was disabled, or Kirk was playing a most dangerous game of cat and mouse. The only way he would be sure was to contact the Enterprise, and he was expressly forbidden that option. He knew he had damaged the enemy's shields. One more pass, and it was likely they would buckle. He decided to take the chance. Outside auxiliary control, Scotty lifted a slab of metal from the wall. He stared at the door's locked circuits. The devil alone knows what's going on out there, and I cannot do a thing about it. Come on now, let's go. The locked circuits slipped back into place, and Scotty's face broke into a fond smile. I don't know why you did it, and I'll not ask. Scotty, prepare to return fire. Aye, sir, said Scott, already moving into auxiliary control. He motioned his crew to assume emergency posts, and he took the helm himself. Awaiting orders, Captain. Good. When he comes in for another run, I want to dive under him, then turn and fire on him from the rear. He thinks we're dead. If we can fool him, we might be able to stop him cold. Here he comes. Get ready, Scotty. Now, ahead warp 6. Warp 6, replied Scotty as the Enterprise shot forward. The Romulan fired, but too late, so that the blast barely rocked the Federation starship. Commander, he's behind us, said the Centurion. Stallon's eyes died, but he snapped, Turn! The Enterprise's phaser struck just as the Raptor wheeled. The shot caught her across the stern and swung the ship in a dizzying spin. Stallone clutched the wall, dimly aware of damage reports flooding the intercom. He had misjudged Kirk. He had given all power to the forward shields, hoping to protect the ship from a direct attack, but Kirk had not been direct. The Enterprise's captain had surely known the cloaking device was a power drain, and surmised this enemy could protect only one side of the ship. Or had he taken the chance? At any rate, the ship was destroyed, and he must now give the most difficult command of his career. He withdrew for a moment in preparation, aware his crew waited for him to order the ship's destruction. Good work, Scotty. Kirk drew a deep breath and attacked Phase 2 of his plan. Countess, thank you. I know now that you love me. It's very special, and I want to share it.
But there are no others.
There are others on the Romulan ship. If I could speak to them, they might be willing to beam aboard, and I would be very happy. The Countess considered this.
You must be happy,
she said, and the stars on the main view screen rippled into a Romulan profile. We will use every means at our disposal to give the Praetor time, Stallone was saying. Time for what, Commander? Stallone whirled. Kirk. You will learn that, Captain, but too late. The captain smiled. If you really wish to delay me, there's a better way than dying by inches. If you and the remainder of your crew would beam aboard the Enterprise, we could spend a good deal of time trying to discover what you are so steadfastly trying to hide. Stallone raised an eyebrow and aimed a look of pure challenge at Kirk. I accept your terms, Captain. The more Admiral Papalia mulled over Iota's actions, the more uneasy he became. Intuition told him where the Romulans were concerned, Iota was a little mad. Papalia had exhausted every normal avenue of information without uncovering any evidence. His only remaining option was to search Iota's office. In short, burglary. He found just what he wanted in the lower right-hand drawer of Iota's desk. With growing horror, he stared at the sheaf of file folders. There were 20 folders, each outlining a different plan for destroying the Romulan Empire. Plan 17 called for 4 starships and 6 scouts. The hair over Papalia's ears tingled. into the Starbase Commander's office. I am making some discreet inquiries. We don't have time. The Romulan fleet will invade Federation space, and we'll be sitting here waiting for answers. Have you heard from Kirk, Commodore? Yang turned at the sound of the firm, reserved voice, and he took a look at Captain Garson. No, Yang answered. Iota ignored the exchange and continued. Since there are no new developments, I propose we take our ships into the heart of the Romulan Empire. If we move first, we may prevent a galactic war. Commodore, you will provide us with the most direct route to the planet Romulus. Yang's eyes goggled. There were no gaps in Iota's logic. It was a tangled knot, pulled tight, destruction in every loop. He collected his wits. No, Garson's statement was simple, clear, and sensible. Entering the neutral zone comes under my jurisdiction as military commander of this detachment. We will not violate the neutral zone unless directly provoked. Iota smoldered. For a moment Garson was afraid he would pull rank and the situation would become ugly, but Iota thought better of it. Then, we will patrol the zone and bide our time. But under my protest, gentlemen. Yang and Garson watched the Admiral's strategic retreat. Can you control him? Asked Yang. I don't have to, Commodore. I'm in full military command of this mission. Oh, yes, you do. You have a perfectly legal authorization from Starfleet Command, but you're a long way from headquarters. I've spent 20 years keeping the threads of communication between the Romulan Empire and the Federation unbroken. I don't want that thread snapped. You understand me, Captain? I believe I do, Commodore. Aboard the Enterprise, Kirk turned to his first officer. Spock, you've been talking to the Romulans. Found any weak spots? Possibly. I do not believe the crew are aware of the reason for their commander's actions. They are uneasy about him. One of the sentries even reported an open confrontation between Stallone and a crew member. He stands completely alone then? No. He has a personal guard, or aide. She seems to be totally loyal. She? Spock nodded. Spock, is she attractive? I believe you would find her so. And totally devoted to Stallone. Kirk's eyes became distant. Spock, I think we have our lever. Get Stallone and his aide to Briefing Room 2. Whatever they're hiding must be big, or they wouldn't have gone to such lengths to conceal it. Briefing Room 2 was an armed camp, a stalemate with each side holding its own. Mr. Spock, said Captain, how can we convince our adversaries of our trustworthiness? Indeed, Captain, short of telepathic contact, I can think of no logical course of action. Kirk, you would not permit this? Demanded Stallone. I'm afraid, Commander, we must use every means at our disposal to discover your purpose. If it requires Vulcan mental techniques, the choice is yours, Commander. Kirk's voice hung in the air, the soft intonation of a striking contrast to its ominous import. Come, Centurion, said Spock. Stallone was on his feet, his fist slamming down on the table. If someone is to endure this barbarism, it will be me. I will not have my crew subjected to torture. 2 security guards stepped forward, but Kirk held Stallone with his eyes. It is my privilege to serve the Empire, Commander. The Centurion strode toward the door, head high. Spock turned to follow her. The deliberation of his movements made Stallone shudder. He knew only too well the terrifying effect of a forced mind link. Now, Commander, said Kirk, we will continue our discussion. I await the legal proceedings for my execution, replied Stallone. There will be no execution for you. As for your crew, they are even now buying their lives, with cooperation. You lie, said Stallone, his voice grating. Humans are well-known liars. Perhaps, but this time I have no need to lie. They betray you. Even your Centurion is vulnerable. She went with Spock willingly. Stallone's eyes blazed. As a Romulan officer, she volunteered for the mission, though she knew it would mean her death. She would die to save her people. To save her people, repeated Kirk. Of course. Why else would the Romulans risk a galactic war? It would be suicide, unless death without the risk was certain. You were the decoy. That's why you used the cloaking device to such an extent, to buy time. But time for what? Tell me, Commander. Kirk suddenly realized Stallone was not listening to him. The Romulan's eyes were fixed on a point beyond Kirk, and they had grown wide with horror. Even Klingons would not have done this, he spat. Spock held the Centurion in his arms. She was unconscious. Commander, the Centurion revealed nothing but her loyalty before she collapsed. I did not invade her mind, nor harm her physically, said Spock, carefully depositing her on the floor. You tricked me, Kirk. Yes, Commander. The Centurion's collapse is unfortunate, but I assure you, Mr. Spock is in no way responsible for her condition. I believe you. This is not unexpected. Kirk and his first officer exchanged a mystified look as McCoy, medical kit in hand, threaded his way between them to kneel beside the Centurion. Bones, what is it? Asked Kirk. It's merothesia, peculiar to Vulcans and Romulans, but generally very rare and communicable only in its early stages. This seems to be a more virulent strain. I can't tell just yet how dangerous it is. I can. Stallone's voice was like gravel. The Centurion will die within 48 hours if the antidote is not administered. The antidote? Quinine, Jim, said Bones. Is that what you're trying to hide, Commander? Asked Kirk. Illness? The Federation and the Romulan Empire may be political enemies, but we have no desire to see your people ravaged by a plague. At least we can supply medicine, and our research staff here on the Enterprise will work on an improved vaccine. Help your enemies, Captain. Quinine is created by using a distillation of gran as a catalyst. The nearest major source of gran is the Canara solar system, in Federation space, commented Spock. Kirk's eyes widened, then narrowed as his mind locked onto the situation. The Romulan fleet is at Canara. You were to give them time to get the gran. Commander, that may not be easy. The Canarans are a warrior people, simple but dangerous. They are capable of destroying the gran rather than allow it to fall into Romulan hands. We will do what is necessary, Captain Kirk, to save our people. Listen to me, Commander. It may be true that humans are liars, but Vulcans are not. Spock. A captain speaks the truth, Commander, said Spock. Then we are doomed, said the Romulan. I have lived to see the destruction of the Romulan Empire, not by military holocaust, but in this insidious arena of death commanded by a microscopic executioner. Commander, let us help you. The Federation does not want to lose Canara, nor does it relish an all-out war. You must trust me, Commander. Trust you, Captain, when you have just tricked me? I admit it's asking a lot, but the stakes are high. You have to trust me. We have to trust each other or see both sides destroyed. Hundreds of thousands of innocent lives sacrificed because of our inability to trust each other. It seems I have little alternative, Captain. The raucous sound of a siren flooded the Potemkin. The crew scrambled for battle stations. Enemy vessel ahead, Captain. They seem to be holding position on the borders of the neutral zone. There, Garson. Are you satisfied? Now do you believe the Federation is under attack? Iota's voice was cold with satisfaction. I will not jump to conclusions, Admiral. Those ships are completely within their rights. Ensign, keep trying to contact them. Message coming in. It's from the alien, sir. A Romulan appeared on the screen. His close-cropped hair framed a proud and patrician face, strength of will apparent in every feature.
Federation starship. In the name of the Emperor, withdraw from the area or face the consequences. This is Captain Garson, commanding the United Spaceship Potemkin. Identify yourself, sir. That you may know your executioner, Earthling. I am the Supreme Commander of the Romulan fleet. What is your purpose, Romulan? This use of address was an effective bit of insolence. Garson rose a notch in the Romulans' estimation. You have been warned, Captain Garson, the Romulan said. The view screen rippled and the alien ships reappeared, menacing gray bodies hovering like vultures.
Garson, you are a fool not to attack immediately, said Iota.
Admiral, I will not enter the neutral zone, nor will attack an enemy who wages war with words, returned Garson. Kirk sat in Dr. McCoy's office. In one hand, he held a report on merothesia. He looked up from it, appalled by the swiftness and agony of the disease.
Bones, isn't there anything we can do? He asked. I don't think so, Jim. Using the Centurion's blood and tissue samples, we've managed to isolate the mutated virus. And I think we've got a quinine derivative that will stop it cold, up to the crisis period. But it won't help the Centurion. The disease was just too far advanced.
Both men's eyes went to the stoic figure of Stallone, bending over the Centurion's bed. Framed by the doorway of the doctor's office, it was a timeless portrait of grief. Bones, Kirk murmured. I have a feeling Stallone is the lever we need to push things our way.
There are going to be some who will say if we let the Empire die, we'd have let a big headache die with it.
Kirk smiled wryly. I know. But if we don't do something about this, well, as far as I'm concerned, there's no other course to take. It might even be the first step in making enemies friends. Stallone was not aware of Kirk and McCoy. He guarded the Centurion's bedside, fiercely protective. The depth of his feeling was a surprise he did not try to analyze. Commander, she whispered. Shh, said Stallone. I know you revealed nothing. Commander, do not speak. I must. It is selfish. I know, but I want to tell you before I go. I always loved you. I've been a blind Centurion and a fool, and now it's too late for both of us. Starlia, we have this time. It takes little time to say I love you. I love you, Starlia. I love you.
Spock here, Captain. ETA at the planet Kanara is 4.32 hours, Captain. We have picked up a remote communications drone. It seems to be programmed by voice print. It will open only at your command.
All right, Mr. Spock. Stallone and I will meet you in auxiliary control. Kirk out. He walked slowly over to Stallone, loath to intrude. Commander. Yes, Captain. I am ready. The Centurion is dead. I am sorry, Commander, said Kirk, his hazel eyes searching Stallone's face. Stallone raised his eyes to Kirk's. For a timeless instant, Terran and Romulan understood one another. Let's go, said Kirk softly. You realize, Captain, this will not be easy. The Praetor will believe you murdered the Centurion and brainwashed me. You must convince him and his officers that is not the case. You are going into terrible danger. And you, Commander, isn't peace, no matter how uneasy, worth the risk? Stallone gauged Kirk for the 100th time. Yes. Report, Mr. Spock, announced the captain as he and Stallone stepped into auxiliary control. Communications have been restored. I recommend you open the communications drone before contacting Starfleet. Spock held out the little cube for the captain's inspection. The letters SICR were stenciled on one side, followed by the Federation emblem. Kirk raised the box to eye level. This is James T. Kirk, SC 937-0176 CEC, commanding the USS Enterprise. It's from Yang, said Kirk. It reads, 4 Starship-class vessels, under the joint command of Admiral Iota and Captain Garson, are on their way to the neutral zone to investigate our disappearance. Admiral Iota believes the Enterprise is destroyed. He has practically sent a declaration of war to the Romulan Empire. Garson is trying to hold him. Captain, said Stallone, you should know there are 4 Romulan ships of the line guarding the neutral zone. They have orders to protect the Romulan escape route at all costs. Damn. It's like begging for a war. Uhura, contact Starfleet Command. I have them, sir. It's Admiral Papalia.
Kirk, thank God. What's going on out there? And a Romulan? Aboard the Enterprise? Why haven't you been in touch?
Sir, the Romulan fleet has invaded Federation space, but not for any military purpose. The entire population is being ravaged by disease, a rare virus that could be a major threat to Vulcan as well. The only known cure uses a refined form of Gran as a catalyst. The Romulans have invaded the Federation to buy or take enough Gran to stop the plague.
This is true?
Stallone nodded. Let us act as intermediary, Kirk went on. Stallone and I will be joint emissaries between Kanara and the Romulan Empire. What is there to lose?
Nothing, I guess. All right, Kirk. You have 2 solar days. If at the end of the time you cannot come to an agreement, I will have no alternative but to consider this intrusion an act of war and to proceed accordingly.
Let's get started, Kirk said. Mr. Sulu, warp forward. The praetor regarded the elderly man with ill-disguised contempt. Rom Jaram, leader of the planet Kanara, sat cross-legged on a woven mat, the translucent ivory of his complexion catching the last pale pink rays of the Kanara sun. Only the knot of gold which clasped the shoulder of his tunic bespoke his rank or wealth.
So, you are the traitor Jublius Manius, here to negotiate for our crop. I am sorry to have to refuse, but our treaty with the United Federation of Planets includes the sale of all surplus Gran directly to the Federation.
And if you were to receive the offer of a better price?
We have received one thing from the Federation that I am not sure you can offer. Praetor of the Romulan Empire.
So you have discovered my identity. It is of little consequence. What is this price I cannot match?
Why, simple honesty, my praetor.
I see no defenses. I do not see even weapons. I will take what we want.
Incendiaries have been set, and at my word they will be ignited. In 1 minute, the fields will be aflame. In 1 hour, there'll be nothing left. You see no evidence of warfare, but we are a warrior people. We have spent our lives in constant warfare against our environment. We are prepared for you. The interview is over. You and your fleet will depart Kanara. You have 6 hours, sir.
The praetor's face was a mask of failure. He was completely at a loss.
Captain Garson, my helm control has been cut off. I've lost the ship.
Are you sure, Helm? Garson's worries over Iota became a solid rock in his stomach.
Auxiliary control, Garson snapped at the intercom. Admiral Iota.
Captain,
I must ask you to return the helm and phaser control to the bridge.
I think not.
Admiral, you can always attack. Just give me some time. 1 day. Do it for the Federation you love.
I think only of the Federation. All right, Captain. 1 day.
Lieutenant, get me Propelia. Block the transmission so it can't be monitored by auxiliary control.
Yes, Garson.
Propelia sounded annoyed. I'm afraid I'm forced to add to your burden, sir. Admiral Iota has barricaded himself in auxiliary control and now holds weaponry, helm, and navigational systems. If he does not have conclusive proof peace is declared within 24 hours, he will attack the Romulan ships in the neutral zone. I'll do my best to outmaneuver him, sir, but there's only one sure way I can see to stop him.
Don't do it until the last moment. Keep at him. I know he's a fanatic, but I think you can still get to him if Kirk comes through.
Uhura, at the Enterprise's communication console, turned her shapely head. Sir, I'm picking up a distress signal from Kanara. I have Ram Joram, head of the Council of Elders. Put him on the screen, Lieutenant. Kirk had never met a Kanaran, but Ram Joram impressed him. The man's immense dignity gave his frail body stature. It flowed through his movements and hung in the drapery of his clothing.
"Welcome," he said. "We are in most dire need of help. We have been invaded by Romulans."
James Kirk, sir, commanding the USS Enterprise. We are aware of the situation. Sir, would you consider letting the Romulans buy your Gran at a fair price? There are extenuating circumstances. The Romulan Empire is itself under attack, not by military forces, but by disease.
The Romulans are enemies of the Federation. Why do we not simply allow them to die?
Sir, I will be honest with you. There are many who see no objection to what you propose. But it means war, and war means suffering and death for both sides. It is in our best interest to prevent it.
I see. In this instance, I see in the bending of my will a measure of profit. Thank you, young man. I owe you a debt for curbing my temper.
I have a temper of my own, sir, replied Kirk, and it has often been diverted by the hand of a friend. He swiveled the command chair to face his first officer. It's time to hood the Falcon, he said. That may not be easy, Captain, answered Spock. We've got to place them at a disadvantage. Command the situation intellectually. Mr. Chekhov, plot an intercept course that will put us right in the middle of them. No shields. The Enterprise sailed into the heart of the Romulan fleet. She glided gracefully to a halt in front of the Praetor's flagship. Like the proverbial fair and innocent maiden, she floated serenely in the midst of a pack of hungry wolves. The man's mad. Not mad, my Praetor, but very, very clever, said a Romulan officer. That is the Enterprise, commanded by Kirk, but he never does anything without reason. I will talk to this Kirk. Stars melted from the Romulan view screen, and alien faces took their places. Alien, except for one. Stallone, snarled the Praetor. This is how you buy time. Yes, my Praetor, Stallone answered steadily. Kirk and his bridge crew studied the Romulan leader with undisguised curiosity. They saw a huge man whose handsome features were stained with pride, passion, and ruthless self-interest. Kirk knew immediately this man would do nothing that did not directly benefit himself. Where is your ship, Stallone? And your crew? Said the Praetor in a soft voice with razor-sharp edges. His ship is destroyed, and his crew are dead or aboard this vessel. Kirk, guessed the Praetor. Sir? So, you have Stallone and his crew,
And I have you. An entertaining situation.
More than entertaining, sir. Cataclysmic. I have come to plead with you, said Kirk, challenge slashing from his eyes, for our lives and the life of the Romulan Empire.
The Romulan Empire is not your concern, Captain.
You have invaded Federation space. That makes it my concern. Without the sanction of the Federation, Kanara will never give up the Gran you need.
I am to trust to the Federation's goodwill to supply medical assistance to its enemies.
You must. And goodwill is hardly our motive. Kanara is a member of the Federation, and as such deserves Federation protection. You are fortunate, sir, to have officers of Commander Stallon's quality. The Kanarans have agreed to accept him as the Romulan envoy. The praetor looked down his long and elegant nose, so Stallon could not be made a scapegoat. Well, he would claim Stallon's glory, so Stallon got only enough to save his life. He allowed the silence to lengthen. His voice, when he spoke, was superior and a little bored.
We will allow this, he said royally.
Stoker, science officer of the lead Romulan ship, the Eagle, opened his mouth to summon help, but no sound came. His eyes rolled up and he collapsed, another victim of meruthesia. The Romulan captain growled an oath and Stoker's body was dragged from its post. His lifeless hand slid across the console. One finger knocked against a small orange lever, hard enough to move it. No one noticed. Captain, the cloaking device. Garson's eyes jumped to the view screen in time to see the last of the Romulan ships wink out of sight. Get me an open channel to the rest of our fleet, he said. This is Garson of the Potemkin. Attention all Federation ships. Should the Potemkin begin to move toward the neutral zone, all ships are ordered to block her path. If this does not deter her, you are authorized to shoot her down. Shoot her any way you can. He indicated the end of the transmission with a wave of his hand and called Iota on the screen. Give up, Iota! Iota sat hunched in his chair, concentrating on the view screen.
Garson, it's clear they mean to attack. Why else would they activate the cloaking device?
Checkmate, Admiral. If you attempt to take the Potemkin into the neutral zone, the rest of the fleet will destroy us.
You're bluffing. Our own ships destroy us?
Try me.
I did, after all, give you 24 hours. After that, I will not hesitate to use the facilities at my disposal. This discussion is terminated.
Garson let his breath escape from his teeth in a relieved whistle. Close call, sir, commented Arvila. Too close. We've got to get that crackpot out of auxiliary control. Message coming in, sir. It's Admiral Papalia. Papalia's leathery face was positively wreathed in smiles.
Garson, we've heard from Kirk. He's arranged a truce. No war.
Good news, Admiral. Very good news. Garson nodded to his communications officer and a channel to auxiliary control opened. Good news, Admiral, he said to Iota's impassive face. The Romulan crisis has been resolved. Peace is declared.
I heard.
Iota leveled his eyes at Garson.
There is no peace.
Surely you don't disbelieve Admiral Papalia.
That bleeding heart, he'd lie through his teeth to avoid honest combat. Kirk is dead. You won't fool me with childish tricks. You now have 2 hours in which to negotiate. I suggest you make use of them. Iota out.
Garson slumped heavily against the front of the helm console. Somewhere, there had to be a key to unlock Iota's mind. He had actually expected the news of Kirk's success to change Iota's position. Well, it had not. Iota had to hear things for himself, or he did not believe them. What? The senior Romulan commander lashed out. As I stated, sir, the Eagle's cloaking device was inadvertently activated. Because the Eagle was your ship, The other vessels assumed they were to follow suit. We estimate the fleet has been invisible for a quarter of an hour, answered the Eagle's captain. And the Federation vessels? Asked the commander. One started to move toward the neutral zone, sir, but the others cut her off. Call Weapons Master to the bridge, said the commander, and I will speak with the Potemkin's captain. Greetings, Romulan, said Garson smoothly. So you decide to show yourself. The bluff he was running was enormous. Is it normal procedure for one Federation ship to attack another? Asked the Romulan commander. I have always considered mutiny outside accepted regulations. Perhaps this is a Romulan prejudice. Garson gave a short, wicked chuckle. It got you back out in the open, didn't it? Your actions in no way determine mine, returned the Romulan commander. You will yield, sir, now or later, in much less humane manner. The choice is yours. Communications were severed. The Romulan communications officer whirled in his chair, his eyes incredulous. Sir, a message from the Praetor. They have declared peace. We have obtained sufficient supplies to stem the plague. Iota crouched over the weapons station, his eyes on the timer before him. One finger was poised above the photon torpedoes directly over a button marked Fire. His eyes ignited as he pushed it. Captain Kirk, said Uhura, I have a message from Admiral Papalia. Put him on, Lieutenant. Kirk, I'm the talebearer of disaster. The Potemkin is fired on the Romulan cortege on the borders of the neutral zone. What? Exclaimed Kirk in disbelief. Kirk, it's not Garson who is at fault. Admiral Iota has seized auxiliary control and opened fire on the enemy. So far, none of the shots have landed. Garson contacted the other Federation vessels, and they've been shielding the Romulan vessels. So far, it's worked. But sooner or later, a shot will get through. Withdrawal is advised. Good luck, Captain. Papalia out. Captain, cried Sulu, 8 Romulan vessels have moved into attack position. Put Garson on, commanded Kirk. Garson, is there any way out of this mess? I don't know, Kirk. So far, the Romulans have shown remarkable forbearance. I've given Iota 1 hour to surrender auxiliary control. If he doesn't, I'll have to destroy our ship. I don't have much hope. He's never trusted me. So why should he believe me about the Romulans now? Who would he believe? Asked Kirk, half to himself and half to Garson. His own people? Admiral Iota is the nominal director of the Federation Intelligence Corps, said Spock. He has been instrumental in the development of countless intelligence devices. Kirk's eyes lit up. Like that sensor unit. Listen, Garson, there may be a way. Do you know if Iota is in touch with his people? He does have a special risk communicator. I've never seen him without it. Then, I think we have an outside chance. Lieutenant Uhura, get Stallone. Spock, activate that sensor unit. And let's make sure any mental images it picks up are related to peaceful cooperation. Spock reached over to the corner of his computer station and slid his fingers across its surface. He looked up and nodded. I have Stallone, Captain. Captain, what is the meaning of this? I have just received word a Federation vessel has opened fire on 4 of our ships. I thought we had an agreement, or are humans really dishonest barbarians? Commander, please listen to me, pleaded Kirk. The Federation is the victim of a mutiny. The Potemkin is under attack from within. Her captain has ordered the ship's destruction if the mutineer refuses to surrender. What can be done? Asked Stallone. Kirk knew that Stallone in his temporary quarters on the Enterprise had been given a subspace communication device locked on to the Praetor's frequency. Speak to your superiors, said Kirk. Convince them to give us time. We have reason to believe this communication is being monitored by the man responsible for the attack. He refuses to believe the Federation and the Romulan Empire can work together. if we can show him the truth, we might be able to reason with him. Will you help, Commander? Of course. It's in the Empire's best interest. Thank you, Commander. I ask no more. Luck, Captain. Luck for all of us, replied Kirk. Mikhail Garson stood on the bridge of the Potemkin. Strain showed in his eyes and the tense, compressed line of his mouth. Get me Admiral Iota, he said tersely.
Admiral Iota, this ship will be destroyed in 12.42 minutes.
Ah! You don't have the courage for that. He pressed a lever on his wrist communicator and bent to catch the communique. What is it?
Admiral, I think you should hear this. I think we were wrong.
Iota leaned forward to catch the communique. Garson's heart leapt. To the captain's hopeful eyes, there was defeat in the humility of Iota's posture. Iota raised his head and turned away.
The victory is yours, Captain Garson. It seems I was wrong.
Ensign Heary, abort destruct order. Commander Yellowhorse, get me the Romulans. The broad face of an unknown Romulan officer appeared on the view screen. This is the Potemkin, said Garson. Our emergency situation is under control. Repeat, we have complete control. I'm glad to hear that, Captain. We will keep the truce, answered the Romulan. As will we, said Garson. Captain's log, stardate 3130.4, said Kirk. The Romulan crisis is under control. Commander Stallone has come to an understanding with the Canarans. Captain, interrupted Uhura, Commander Stallone wishes to speak to you. Dr. McCoy, Mr. Spock, Captain, soon we will return home, and the cooperation we have enjoyed will dissolve. We will be enemies with the neutral zone a wall between us. James Kirk, not only are you and your crew directly responsible for stopping a war and keeping a civilization from decimation by disease, you have secured my position as well. I believe, Captain, you would make as valuable a friend as you are dangerous an enemy. Whatever circumstances may require of me, I remain in your debt. I will remember, Captain. Goodbye, Stallone, my friend, said Kirk. The Romulan commander's eyes were full of regret as he faded from the screen. His concern is for the welfare of his people, mused Kirk, just as our concern is for the welfare of ours. Yet we are enemies. No logic in it, is there, Spock? War, in all its forms, is not a logical process, said Spock, his eyes dark. No, answered the captain. He punched into the computer to finish the log entry Stallone had interrupted. Our mission is successfully completed, and the Enterprise will be leaving the area in approximately 4.23 hours, when we will proceed to the nearest starbase for computer repair. Kirk out.
Recorded, my darling, my dearest. Another brilliant mission completed by my brave, loyal...
The computer continued the list of adjectives, and the captain's face fell. Spock. Spock's lips twitched. I am sorry, Captain, but the log entries are directly tied to the library computer, and I can do nothing until it is reprogrammed. Kirk lowered his head, his forehead resting on the heel of one hand. He was the picture of helpless dejection. Look at it this way, Jim. She may be a machine, but she's all yours, McCoy chuckled. You did say you loved her, Captain. Spock's voice was innocent. The bridge was violently quiet when a
chortle erupted from the command chair. The chortle bubbled into a laugh, and the bridge exploded, except, of course, for Spock. He observed the situation with innocence and mild surprise, his own approach to humor.
Pure, kind, and generous, my own true love.
The computer finished fondly, totally unaware of the reaction it was causing. The Enterprise rocked with laughter.
Technical Addendum. Commander Spock recording. As science officer of the USS Enterprise, I wish to recommend changes in the programming of Starfleet computers in light of the events just described. Humans often have a desire to shift responsibility away from themselves. Sometimes their computers are given too much of it. As we know from several near cataclysms of late 20th century Earth, computers given vast responsibility are capable of vast error, capable even of starting wars upon their own instructions. We must afford our starship crews greater ability to override their computers, which are excellent tools, but very poor masters. I would like to submit, for the record, that the manner in which the officers of the Enterprise found hilarity in their malfunctioning computer should not be held against them. It is a peculiar human trait, this illogical humor in the face of adversity. Despite such an odd impediment, or, as they would claim, because of such an odd impediment, these officers have carried out their duties for years with great effectiveness. In my estimation, they are the finest officers in Starfleet.
The book from which this exciting Star Trek production was adapted is now available in your local bookstores. Pocketbooks publishes over 33 Star Trek novels and invaluable guidebooks such as Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, Strangers from the Sky, Star Trek, The Next Generation, Mr. Scott's Guide to the Enterprise, and the Star Trek Compendium. Don't miss these thrilling Star Trek adventures, and remember, there's a brand new Star Trek novel published every other month by Pocketbooks.